And then I remember being like, well, I really like D&D merch, but it's all very cringe. Don't yuck someone's TTRPG yum. I've never played XP leveling, but I don't think it deserves the hate that it gets. I remember the final battle. We all cried at the end.
Connor, welcome to the show.
My goodness. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, damn it.
So to start things out, you are a TTRPG content creator. You are the creator of Cloudkill in all its capacities. But for anyone who hasn't heard of you, who is Cloudkill Connor?
Oh my goodness. I am a TTRPG creator. Like you said, I have been existing on the internet for longer than anyone should have had me. I make clothes. I make funny little videos. I make long form content from time to time. I have some shows on my Twitch. I stream every Friday because if I don't, my grandma gets really upset because she's got nothing to watch. And I get to hang out with my pals and do fun stuff.
Love that. So I always like to start these conversations by hearing how it all started for you, basically. Like, what's your origin story with tabletop games? So take me back, remember the day, tell me everything about it. What happened for you?
It's so exciting because I actually was thinking about this today. When I was in high school, I was a nerd, which is a shock to nobody. You know, I read a lot of fantasy, like Aragon, and I watched like Aliens and like Predator and all those kind of like sci-fi stuff. But I very distinctly remember one of my friends being like, "Dude, I'm gonna go join the D&D club. You should come with." And I was like, "No chance in hell, bro." Like that. I was like, that crosses a nerd line for me. I'm already getting bullied enough, my man. I think I'm going to pass that. And then many years later, I worked at a telco, like a telecommunications place, and my friend Lockie worked there. Soon to be my best friend Lockie worked there, and he's like, "Oh, dude, we play like D&D on Monday nights. Like, you should come." I was like, "Oh man, like I've only read about this magical, enchanting game. Please, I'd be honored." And then I started going. And now it's been like 7 or 8 years, I would say. We've had the same group that's met every Monday for about 7 or 8 years. We've been very lucky in the fact, and we've had a few people like come and go, but the core kind of group has stayed there for that long. It's been incredible. And then I remember being like, well, I really like D&D merch, but it's all very cringe. I don't want to wear a shirt that's got like a cartoon dragon that says roll with it or something. Not that I'm disparaging that if that exists. If that is a real shirt, don't take offense. But I was like, I need something that's like a little bit cooler, something that like, your grandma wouldn't like laugh at. I was like, I'm just going to make it. And then I started making designs, and then I remember we're like, what do we call it? What are we going to call this? And it was my wife who actually named it. We were sitting in an office in our old house. We're going through like spells and we're going through names, and we're like, what do we call it? What do we call it? And she's like, Cloudkill. And I was like, Cloudkill Clothing. And like we looked at each other, and it was like this little light bulb moment. And so that's when Cloudkill was born. It was really sweet. So I have a lot to thank of my wife for that one.
I couldn't agree more. You're doing the Lord's work out there, getting some clothes that are not the cringiest things in the world, to still prove you're a fan of D&D. I love it. But back to the campaign for a little bit. So you've been playing this campaign for quite a long time. What's it been? Has it been different kinds of campaigns? What's it all been about?
Yeah, so like what happened was, so my friend Lockie, and I'll probably bring him up a million times because he's one of my best friends and he's such a good DM. He initially started playing. We had another DM, then they'd switch off every week. But I started playing in both their campaigns, and then the dreaded COVID happened, and we ended up kind of like splitting for a while. And when we came back, it was like, cool, we're locking in, we're focusing on one campaign for a while. And I brought back my old character from like a previous campaign. We played that from like level 1 to level 20. I remember the final battle, we all cried at the end because it was just emotional investment. But during that period, I was like, damn, maybe I should try DMing. I was like, this seems like a lot of fun. And so I remember I locked myself in my room for about a week, and I wrote like a whole like campaign setting. It was like a sci-fi, cyberpunk-esque kind of world called New Hannon. And I ended up running that. And I was like, dude, do you mind if I run every second week now? And he was like, yeah, man, for sure. And so we've been doing that ever since. So we have one campaign that goes, and then I forget to write all my notes until the day before, and then I write it, and then we go play it. And we've been doing that. So we're on my second campaign, and we're on my DM Lockie's second campaign now as well. And we try and keep them similar, but They don't always end at the same time, but God, it's fun. I love this game.
That's a great way to keep it fresh. And are you playing D&D in the sci-fi campaign, or is it a different system?
It's D&D, but like to the point where someone would probably go, "Ooh, I don't know if that's pure crystallized D&D anymore, my friend." So you know, if you're not a homebrew fan, I fear you'd probably have an aneurysm at my table. So.
So then back to Cloudkill now. So take me back to the beginning of the business as well. So you have this idea, you notice that a lot of the clothes out there are kind of lame and you want to make some cool ones, start making some cool designs, you come up with a business, and then what happens next from there?
It was very much like a how do we do this at a cost-effective structure? Because I like, how old was I then? I think I probably would have been like early like 20s. You know, like when you're in your early 20s and you have no money and you're like, damn, how do I make all these fun ideas happen? So I ended up partnering with a print shop down in Brisbane called the Print Bar, and they did a print-on-demand situation for a while there. And I was like, you know what? That's fine. Let's get our sea legs. Let's do that. And so I would do all the designs and then obviously all the website maintenance and all like the marketing and like pretty much all the legwork, and they would thankfully front like the product and the printing, which was wonderful. And that worked for ages. And I was like, that's fun, but I want to do it completely in-house, which was very ambitious. And we did that, and it's been amazing. So it's just like being able to take something that you make on the computer or like, you know, draw in like a sketchbook and like eventually like, you know, it comes to life and you see it on a shirt or you see someone wearing it. You're like, that is the coolest thing I think I'm ever going to accomplish.
And you've done like a big collab with Castleton as well?
I didn't expect that to happen because one of our friends down in Brisbane, they run an awesome channel called Roll for Roll. They tagged myself and a dice maker friend of mine, Ravensridge, in like the comments of that post. And I was like, oh yeah, this would be fun. Not expecting anything to come of it. And then AJ Winters over at Winter's Tales DM me and she was like, hey, do you want to be on the show? And I was like, I don't know what that looks like. I've never done this before. And then I was thrown into a Discord with people that I thoroughly admired, which was very kind of nerve-wracking. And then she's like, oh, I didn't want to ask, but do you want to like design like the merch for it? And I was like, pen in hand. I was like, I was waiting. I was shaking, jittering, waiting for you to ask. So that's been awesome. And it's been really like creatively pushing. I would say that I've gotten a lot better at stuff as a result of it, you know, trial by fire.
Yeah, no, and it's really, there's some really awesome stuff out there. I think I saw a bunch of people rolling around with some of your kit at PAX as well, which was really cool. How did that feel, by the way, if you saw anyone? Did you see anyone? Because I certainly did.
A lot of the stuff down there, and I think we might have bumped into each other when I was doing it. We were doing like the little giveaways and stuff. That was really cool. But like seeing it organically is like a different vibe. It is like, even especially like as a result of people buying like in America and stuff. And like I'll see them posted on their story and I'm like, I'm in a tiny little town in Queensland here. And like he's in LA. He's in the city of angels and he's wearing my hoodie, you know? So like anytime I see anything of mine being worn like in the wild or just anything like that, it gives me like this great sense of pride that I didn't think I was going to be able to get. So it's really nice.
And if there's anyone out there who's interested in checking out the clothes, where should they go?
Oh my God, www.cloudkillclothing.com for all of your apparel needs.
And so you've also been heading down the content creation role a bit more heavily recently. There's been some awesome stuff going up on your socials, on your TikTok, Instagram, stuff like that. It's just like the thing I always notice when one of your videos comes up, it's like, oh, the colors, here we go. So what happened? How come you decided to lean harder into this?
That's really sweet because that's a big point of pride because I'm a wedding like videographer and photographer as well as my wife like off to the side. So like I was like, I know how to use a camera and I was like, why am I not using it to the fullest capacity in this space too? And I spend well too long on a video that lasts for like 30 seconds. But when I see it go up, I'm like, I get a sense of pride. But it all kind of started with Castleton. And I was just like, I was hanging out with these incredibly cool people, like Ex Clementine, and then I met Arlentric as well. And they're making this cool stuff. And I'm like, I want to do that. I think I can make funny videos. And then I just kind of started doing it. I just have so much fun. I just started a new little project called like Crit Files. It's been like this fun little like analog horror, like ranger talking in the woods, giving advice about like D&D monsters.
That's another guy though, right? That's like that's a redacted person.
That's Ranger redacted, man. I got nothing to do with it. I just keep getting tagged in it and accepting the collab every week.
That is so good. I think all of us at Sounds Like Adventure, when that started popping up, we were like, my God, have you guys seen this yet? This is fucking amazing. Normally we don't swear on this show as well. So that's an evidence of how much I actually really enjoyed it.
Achievement unlocked. That's good.
How can you describe that, by the way, for anyone who is like interested, like who doesn't know what it is? Because I feel like we haven't really described it. What is it? Because I don't quite know.
You know what? It's crazy because like I don't think I really know either. I think I was sitting at home because like I'm a big horror movie fan too, and any of my players will always say that like I kind of lean more horror in a session. Like if there's an opportunity to do that, I will. I love a found footage film, and I love like bad VHS retro kind of vibes. So I was like, how do I do this? But how do I make it D&D and make it seem like something I could do on the weekend? So I just thought like, what if it was like a archival tapes that have been found? And people keep finding them and like, oh, this has been tampered with, or like, what are these little cryptic messages in the background? I'm hoping it'll end up being like a bit of an analog horror ARG like video series, but who knows? I filmed a whole of season 1 is what I'm calling it. So
wow, more to come for the folks listening. It's got kind of like X-Files, like or like the Federal Bureau of Control from the video game Control vibe to it, where it's like mundane made strange, and then just the act of the redaction in there and the fuzziness that comes through is just like, oh, this is so good. I don't know why, it's just amazing.
It scratches an itch. I think that like SCP like kind of hits as well for me, like very much like like this is a report on this non-Euclidean creature, like what does this mean basically? So that's the vibe I wanted to do, and I've had a lot of like really good feedback from like people that know a bit more about the genre and a bit more about audio, and they've been like, oh, you should put like this fuzzy tone underneath, it'll make it sound like a VHS. I'm like, you're the expert. Sounds good to me. So
back to the other content you're doing more generally as well. So Twitch, what do you get up to over on Twitch?
So I have been doing an actual play of a modified Kids on Bikes, which is a TTRPG system created by Hunters Entertainment. It's like an incredible like multiple dice system that's used, but we're doing a supernatural, like the CW supernatural themed show called Hunters in Cars, which has been so much fun because I'm a big supernatural fan at heart as well. And I've had some really amazing players. So that's been a nice little long form piece of content. And that's very much like a super improv driven player agency type of situation. And I think that's a lot more fun for me as a DM because I love rules. I love getting crunchy with a set of rules every day of the week. But if I can throw it back to my players and they ask me like, oh, what would my father do? I'm like, I don't know. What did your father do? And I get them to tell me instead. And I feel like there's a bit more of an emotional buy-in then because we've co-collaborated on this lore together in a sense. So that's been a lot of fun. And it's given me a lot of chance to like hit that spooky horror vibe that I only generally get on Halloween. So, but other than that, I play a lot of video games. It's my excuse to play some video games on Friday. And like I said in the intro, if I don't play a video game on Friday, my grandma will text me. I call her Nan, but I'm saying grandma is more generalization. My Nan will text me and she'll say, are you online tonight, Connor? And that means you have to be streaming on Twitch. I'm sitting in front of the TV waiting for you to play like Silent Hill or Kingdom Hearts or whatever the flavor of the month is. She's so cool, man. She's the coolest.
Aren't you playing like Smash or Pass with the monster manual and stuff like that?
Sometimes.
Is she down for that as well?
She thinks it's pretty funny. We have a channel point redemption on my channel where it's like 10,000 points and I have to read like some user submitted like smut, like we found on AO3 or something. So I will text her and I will tell her to tune out on those parts.
Oh, okay. It's one of your favorite episodes.
I spare her that, thankfully. But no, otherwise, like, it's very much like a variety hour sometimes it feels like. But I don't mind it. I think there's a bit of fun in like this inconsistent consistency.
So sell me on Kids on Bikes a little bit. I don't need to be sold hard, but what's your favorite thing about it?
Oh my goodness. It's the collaborative like building between each other. That's the best part because there's nowhere in the rules that says like, oh, your players get X amount of like items and X amount of like weapons, blah, 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 blah. It's very much just like, I would have this in my bag because I am a high school student. And I'm like, it sounds like you would. Absolutely. I think it's very much a game for DMs that like the rule of cool to an extent and are happy to kind of improv and stay on their toes. You've got to be able to go, yes, I do like that. Or you can go, no, you wouldn't have a missile launcher, but, and then you can give them something to the effect of, you can come to the same agreement. It's a very much like an improv heavy game, which is what really scratches the itch in my brain.
That sounds really awesome. Do you do VODs for actual play stuff anywhere?
Yeah, actually, they're on our YouTube channel as well. So the first 2 episodes of Crossroads are up there now, and there is a level 21 shot as well that we did of D&D last year as well with my home game friends, my original home game friends. So you see my incredible DM Lockie absolutely acting his heart out. We thought it would be fun to basically take all of our old characters from our home games and just kind of act like everyone should know who they are. And we're like, we'll just present a level 21 shot out. And it was incredible. There's not a huge scene for D&D in my town. And so we were kind of like, let's just make a really big deal out of it. And so we contacted like a local barcade. And we're like, hey, man, we're hosting like a level 21 shot. Can we use your venue on a Friday night? And they were like, yeah, for sure. And so we had it up on a projector. We were having a couple drinks. It was incredible. It was so cool. And that was pretty much like the first foray into actual plays that we ended up posting online. But, you can find it all on YouTube. There's more to come whenever I stick to my actual editing schedule.
So I like to finish up these chats with some recurring questions that I ask everyone. So we'll jump into those now. So question 1, take me back to your first ever character that you had in a tabletop game. Who were they?
It was so cool. I remember this because it was my password for a lot of stuff for many years. It was a half-elf arcane archer. His name was Darfane. He had all the personality of a piece of paper because I didn't realize how important roleplay was back then. But I remember he died an incredibly tragic death to the big bad when I snapped my bow and it exploded because it was filled with like radiant light. That was incredible.
So you did like a dramatic sacrifice? Is that
very
what it was?
much so? It was a holding the door kind of situation for everybody else, and it was. I don't think you can really understand like how these moments impact you if you don't play D&D. Does that make sense? Like, I think some of the fondest memories I have are memories that me and a bunch of friends sat at a table and made up together. And I remember them crystal clear. If somebody says to me like, oh, like, do you remember this? I'm like, yeah, but I remember when Carlos Sandris, my warlock, confronted his dad and like, it was really cathartic and the whole party was there like egging him on. Like, I remember that crystal clear.
That happens to us in Sounds Like Adventure. We come out of it, and I remember one session, Kess was like, oh God, I feel like so close to you guys, even though we were just playing this game. And I was like, man, you guys just went through this crazy situation together. Like, you just went through an exploding space station. No wonder you feel so close together. I think I heard Brennan Lee Mulligan talk about this once, that apparently it's like the same part of the brain that remembers imagined events and remembers real events. So to yourself, it doesn't actually feel that different to remembering imagined things, which I think is super cool.
I think it is. And I think that's like the beauty of it as well. Like, I know like we've come leaps and bounds in like, D&D being like super mainstream and like TTRPGs being super niche. But I always think there's going to be like that stigma of being like, oh, it's just a bunch of people like drama kids playing pretend around a table. It's like, yeah, it is. But like, that's where some of my best friends have come from. Like I have made these lifelong like memories and achievements and friends just sitting at a table, rolling dice and putting a stupid voice on for like 4 hours. It's like, show me somewhere else where you can do that.
Second question, what's your most controversial tabletop games opinion?
Oh my goodness. This is probably, I feel like this has probably been repeated like ad nauseum, but I don't think, and I've never played XP leveling, but I don't think it deserves the hate that it gets. I think that there is a very specific niche for people that enjoy XP leveling. Not me. Don't get me wrong. You would never catch me doing XP leveling. But if there are people out there that are like, I want to play D&D to grind and kill a bunch of rats and get like 10 XP each, I'm like, dude, 100%. If that's what floats your boat, you go for it, man. I'm so happy that makes you happy. But like, I feel like it just gets a stigma online of being like, don't try and gamify D&D. It's like, dude, it started off as a war game. Like, you're always going to find people that prefer pulling the ruler out and measuring the 30 feet and calculating the exact damage. So that's my take. You know what? Give the XP brethren a break.
Yeah, my take on this is let people be weird, basically. If you want to be weird about stuff, if you want to do encumbrance and you want to have like a dramatic decision when you're at the bottom of a dungeon because, oh no, we've taken too much stuff and the thing that we came down for, we don't have enough room for now. So now we have to decide what we leave behind. And that's really dramatic to you and everyone at the table, because encumbrance, I think everyone needs to opt in because my gosh, it's full on. But like that could be a great moment for you. So yeah, like there's the horses for courses, and yeah, let people be weird. If you want to be weird about it,
yeah, don't yuck someone's TTRPG yum.
That's
I think is my takeaway.
Love it. And then final question, when you think back to your time spent around the table playing tabletop games over the years, do you have a favorite story or a favorite memory?
Absolutely. I think I said it really briefly earlier, but my second ever character, I think you probably call them, was a warlock called Carlos Sandris. He was a noble. He got exiled from his family because he wasn't a sorcerer. He had no magic in him. So his dad kicked him off a cliff, and he made a pact with a archfey. And then I remember talking about it to my DM, and I was like, dude, I think I put way too much of myself in this character. And he was like, no, we'll play it out. We'll see how it goes. And then we get to this point where he comes back to his home and he confronts his dad, and he wins his like sister and his brother back over. And there was this incredible moment where my DM very much rule of cooled it, and we all counterspelled this character's father's like meteor swarm at once. It was this big 9th level spell, and we all cast the same counterspell at the same time. And I remember just looking up at my friend Lockie. I'm getting emotional thinking about it. And I had tears in my eyes. I was like, dude, I really needed this, I think. And then we finished this session, and I think like I got home, and we generally finished pretty late, like 11:30, 12. I don't think I went to sleep till like 3 in the morning. I was just decompressing and thinking about my imaginary siblings and my dad that I finally confronted. It was just this moment where I was like, my next character has to be completely different from me. So it was incredible. And that stuck with me for many, many years.
Connor, thanks for joining me today. If anyone's interested in finding out more about you, where can they find you?
You can catch me at Cloudkill Connor /Twitch or twitch.tv/Cloudkill Connor. You can see me on YouTube at Cloudkill Connor. Instagram too, if you like funny little silly videos. And then cloudkillclothing.com if you want to buy some shirts that your grandma won't say, is that Dungeons and Dragons game? Or if she's cool like mine, she'll watch my Twitch and she'll know where to buy them from. So it's not a big deal. But that's me. Thank you for having me. This was such a treat.
All those links will be in the show notes. And yes, thank you so much for being on the show.